All right, in this section, it talks about multiplying special cases, but everything we've done up to this point will allow you to do what we've been doing by setting up that box method. But there is one important thing to write or to note, is when we have a binomial that is squared, we have to rewrite it twice. That should be a plus. So make sure that you are writing it twice rather than doing an a squared and a b squared, because that's the most common mistake. A lot of people will say, oh, it's x squared plus 7 squared, which would be x squared plus 49, which is incorrect. So anytime you see something plus or minus something squared, you rewrite it in this form. So for example, x plus 7 squared, rewrite it like this. So when we set up our box, it's going to be an x and a 7 and x and a 7. So that it would be x squared, 7x, 7x here, 49. And then when we rewrite, it's the same thing. We're combining our like terms. X squared plus 14x plus 49. Just so take note of that when you do problems relating to multiplying the square of a binomial. All right, so here are some practice problems. You can see two of them are set up like that. The other one is set up a little differently, and then they say the difference of where it looks the same but they're different. You'll see a pattern in there as well, and we'll cover that when we do that practice problem. But for the most part, set them up like how we have been. So this is an x plus 6 squared, so it's really, you want to think of it as x plus 6 times x plus 6, where they're written next to each other. So we then set up our box method. We have an x and a 6, x and a 6, x squared. This would be 6x, 6x. 6 times 6 is 36. So that would be x squared plus 12x plus 36. Remember, you're adding your like terms, or you're combining your like terms. All right, in this next one, it's already kind of separated for us, so we're going to set up our grid. So pause it, see if you can handle this on your own. If not, just follow along. So we have an x cubed, and then we have a negative 6. Up here I'm going to put x cubed and a positive 6. So x cubed times x cubed, remember we're adding the exponents, so that would be x to the 6th power. This would become a 6x to the 3rd. This times negative 6 would be a negative 6x to the 3rd. And then negative 6 times 6 would be a negative 36. Now, just remember, so what you're going to notice about these, when they look exactly the same but the signs are different, this is going to happen every time. If we take our calculator, you'll see that these like terms right here, because we have 2x to the thirds, so we do a 6 minus 6 or negative 6 plus 6, it's going to equal 0. So essentially that term is just going to go away because they combine to equal 0. So when I write this out, this is going to be x to the 6 minus 36. So normally you have 3 terms. That middle term goes away. We'll talk more about things like this when we actually factor, when we take problems like this and we make them look like this. But for right now, just note that that cancels out. All right, go ahead and pause the video and set up 2x minus 5 squared. So I'm going to set up my box because it's a binomial. Now instead of going through the process and writing out twice, I'm just going to write it out twice on here. So 2x and negative 5, 2x and negative 5, because it's squared, we write it twice. So it'd be 4x squared. 2 times negative 5 would be a negative 10x. 2x times negative 5, negative 10x. And then negative 5 times negative 5 to get this square down here would be a positive 25. We combine our like terms, which are the x terms. So we have 4x squared, keeping it in standard form, Negative 10 plus a negative 10. So negative 10, either minus 10 or plus a negative 10, which are the same, is going to give us negative 20. So that becomes negative 20x, and then a plus 25. And I'm going to make up one more problem just for practice. We're going to call this x plus 3 times x minus 3. So again, kind of like that other example where it looks the same, but the only thing that's different is the signs. So go ahead and pause the video here and try that on your own. So I'm going to go ahead and set that up. So we're doing our box method again. So I have an x and a 3, an x and a negative 3 because of that negative. So this would become x squared. This would become 3x. This becomes a negative 3x. And this becomes 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. You notice that the 3x and negative 3 are going to combine or add to equal 0. So my answer would be x squared minus 9. All right, let's do one more example where we have a coefficient with the x. And you'll see that those terms are still going to cancel out. All right, so one more sample problem. Let's do, let's say 3x minus 5 and 3x plus 5. All right, so we're going to set up our box. Okay, go ahead and pause this and do the problem and see if we get the same answer. So this would be a 3x, a negative 5 here, 3x, a positive 5. So go ahead and fill out your chart. 3 times 3 is 9. We have the two x's, so that's x squared. Over here, 5 times 3 is 15x. 3 times negative 5, negative 15x. 5 times negative 5 would be negative 25. And you can see that our like terms here are going to cancel out to equal 0. So my answer would be 9x squared minus 25. All right. So that's it for that section. Kind of quick. You've already had the skills to do it, but the key, I think, is making sure when you have a binomial that's squared, make sure you write it out twice, like this, 2x minus 5, 2x minus 5, so that when you set up your grid, you do it correctly.